Yo.
Hello.
Welcome.
Casey Crawford, thanks for coming, man.
Yeah, no problem.
Having us.
Yeah,
on
thanks
our
for having
podcast.
us on our pod. Yeah, happy
Thanks
to
for
have you,
having me.
dude. Yeah, this is gonna be great.
Yeah, what do you think the temperature is in right here now?
In this room?
In this room.
Is
81?
it hotter than outside? Probably.
It might be.
Yeah.
Remember last week? It was 95. You don't have to. I'm just fucking
No,
with
I'm
you, dude.
genuinely curious if this would improve things.
Yeah, it would.
It was a little windy, so yeah, it might.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, wow. Is that a Zin chill?
Yes.
You know, that's probably one of the last Zin chills in town.
Dude, I had to go to 2 gas stations to find them today.
There's a Zin shortage.
I know. I went to 7-Eleven earlier, the one across the street, and they only had 3 milligrams. I was like, Jesus
You should
Christ.
buy a roll. It'll be gone. It will be. I work in a gas station, and the Zin representative came in last week, and she's like, "There's a Zin shortage."
Yeah.
There's like a fucking. Some people. There was like
Didn't
a weird
they do
rumor.
something where like they were giving them out at the Pride Parade or something, which is why there's a shortage now?
I heard they just the demand. They didn't anticipate demand.
Yeah.
They didn't. I mean, like, no offense, but at my job, every 5 minutes, a guy who looks just like you comes in. You guys have any Zin? Like, and he drives up the highway. I was in Maine last week, and they had a shit ton of Zin, but it was all like the weird flavored Zin. It was like mango.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I want it to taste like nothing.
Oh man,
Sometimes
be careful
I
with
like
that.
to throw one in with an Altoid, and it kind of tricks my brain into thinking the Altoid is what's secreting the nicotine.
Yeah.
And the mint flavor and the nicotine.
Sure, so
together.
you're just doing that's your way to quit eventually.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah.
No, I get it.
Yeah, they haven't gotten me quite yet. I mean, I say that as I throw one in. But
They weirdly, you know, the green Marlboro, they don't sell menthols in Massachusetts anymore.
Yes. Yep.
But they were selling the Newports in the green boxes still in town.
Yeah, but
that
they're
weren't
just not
menthol.
flavored anymore.
They
yeah.
no longer doing that. They came to our store and they're like, we can't sell just the green boxes anymore.
Oh shit.
Yeah, so they pulled those as well.
So they had to change them
Yeah.
to what, reds now or something?
They're just the yellows and the reds now. No
Okay.
more green box Newports. Yeah.
Wow.
So
what's the problem with menthol?
They were saying that it was highly addictive and it was just too addictive for people to not like regard the fact that like it was. There was a lot of people doing it of their own will, obviously, but a lot of them were just like they look at it from like a long-term medical perspective, you know, where they're like over time this is going to cost us money, you know. But
Yeah,
remember
Newports
when
are
they-
much worse than
I remember when the
regular.
smoking ban went into effect. You
Yeah.
probably were you old enough then?
No.
I was in a bar and everybody was smoking.
Yeah.
Because you had till midnight. It was just like.
Do you miss it, or are you
No.
were relieved by
I'm
that?
so glad that is over now.
Yeah.
You can go to the burn and breathe.
Yeah. Oh my God.
We're all glad.
Yeah.
Even smokers bitched about it for about 6 months,
Mm-hmm.
and then they were like, "Man, yeah."
The air is already pretty thick in the burn as it is.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
You can still smell. Smells like a fucking old hotel in there. Like, yeah.
Yeah, it's nice when you go, like, feels like a throwback when you're in, like, Florida, and there's places where you can, like, smoke inside.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
It's strange.
I want to say there's a smoking lounge in the Denver airport. There was a couple of years ago. You
Yeah.
just go and it's like a fucking breeze.
Yeah, there's one in the,
Smoke.
I think it was Atlanta, the Atlanta airport.
Oh, yeah, down
I had a
south, I know.
layover there,
Yeah.
and there was a smoking section, and there's just, like, literally 40 people in there, just all, like, huddled around,
Oh, yeah.
just smoking.
I mean, you
Yeah.
think about it.
You
that's-
walked in there, and it was probably like smoking a cigarette.
That's
like,
something
just-
most people do every 2 hours. They're
Yeah.
awake. So it's like, for you to go on a 5-hour plane flight and not smoke, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know who Friendly Wits is?
Yeah.
I saw her speak with my mom. It was a nice evening. She talked about her flight to Australia. She was like, "I'm never going back. Like, it's literally not worth it to sit on a plane for 20 hours
For that
and not
long.
have a cigarette."
Oh,
Yeah.
God, yeah. It just, because it's probably those people only quit when they have to.
Mm-hmm.
She ain't going to quit.
Yeah.
Of her own accord.
My uncle on my mom's side quit when he had to.
Yeah.
Just right up until the doctor told him. Honestly, I respect that. I respect that as a move because it's like
My grandmother literally never quit.
How old
her
she
whole
lived
thing. She's dead now.
How
how
old
long
lived
she
to?
last.
She was 68 when she died, I think. My grandfather died like a year before she got like really sick, and it was her bladder. And I guess the doctors missed it. We had a whole malpractice thing. with
No
them.
shit,
So
really?
yeah.
What'd she smoke?
Marb Lights.
Marb Lights?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you always hear stories about, like Bill Walton died. What did he die from? Smoking weed? Like,
Yeah.
genetically, there's things you can't control.
Of course.
This is what my wife tells me, who's much healthier than me, but that's what she looks at me and says.
Yeah.
You know.
Hey, Willie Nelson's still alive. For fuck's
Right.
sake.
Yeah. But I mean, he's probably fucking vegan. You know, I don't
Right.
think he's eating 7-Eleven hot dogs after shows at night. I think he's smoking a lot of high-grade weed.
Here's the
and
problem with
eating
7-Eleven
vegetables.
hot dogs and pizza is that they're really fucking good.
Are they?
Yeah, I
7-Eleven
genuinely
pizza is
I
actually
genuinely
good.
enjoy
Well, it's
7-Eleven
timed
pizza.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it good? How much is it?
Like
$1.50 for a slice.
You ever had
Yeah.
Two Bros in New York?
No.
Two Bros.
Two Bros is I think it's $1.99 now, but it's
Really?
the cheapest pizza slice in New York. It's called Two Bros Pizza. There's a couple of chains.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, they don't have like any dining area. It's one of those just stand at the counter, they give it to you, and then you leave.
Oh,
But,
okay, yeah,
you
yeah.
have $2. Do you ever have Two Bros? Was that around?
I mean, I don't remember all the pizza places I went to. I remember my pizza place.
Yeah, what was your
Like,
pizza
I went
place?
to My Little Pizzeria on Court Street.
Yeah.
Yeah, halfway between my school and my house, and like that was just where everybody went at the start of every spring and summer break.
Could you
Like,
tell if it was good?
Yes, I think it was genuinely good. It was much like the style of Joe's, which just put one in Harvard Square.
What do you think of that one?
I think it's fantastic.
I do too, man.
I've never seen guys work harder than that place.
Yeah.
Holy shit! A Friday night full of Harvard students. These guys.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Have you ever been to...
Ooh, that's where the studio's going too, dude. Little studios, and then
Oh, yeah.
some Joe's Pizza, dude.
I think
Ooh,
it's
baby.
it's a funny statement about the state of Boston pizza that our best pizza is just a chain from New York.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it depends on who you talk to. So you have to get used to that kind of like fucking lasagna style of pizza that they make. Like, I don't know if you ever had Cape Cod Cafe down in Brockton.
No.
That's my wife's favorite. We drive to that. I like Montilio's, like the Italian style, but like, it's different. It's a different kind of pizza.
Yeah.
You gotta eat it with a fucking fork.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fork pizza.
Yeah,
you know?
Right. Yeah.
And-
I like the South Shore like bar pizza style.
Yeah, Cape Cod Cafe.
Yeah,
Bar- yeah.
That's
you don't
good
feel
stuff.
bad about eating the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's Cape Cod Cafe for sure.
I don't normally listen back to our podcast, but I think I'm going to listen back to this one to remember the pizza.
The names.
Santarpio's.
This is
People love
important
Santarpio's
information.
as well.
Oh, Santarpio's is great. Yeah.
But again, fork pizza. You cannot walk and eat that shit.
Nope.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like the classic Brooklyn foldable style.
Yeah.
The only place
Yeah,
in New York
Louis
that I've
standing
eaten
outside,
from is Ben's, which is what he was just saying.
Ben's New York pizza.
Just
from
'cause-
Louis.
just 'cause of Louis, yeah.
I've done that. I think everybody does that. Stands there for a second.
Yep.
Throws it away.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, both times I've been to New York, I've eaten there.
I saw Louis at the Oddball Festival, which was this football stadium comedy festival a couple of years ago, where they could fill a football stadium with comedians if they got like 5 just fucking killers. It'd be like him, Chris Rock, Dave Chappelle, like. So it was in Austin, and I was at the other end of the stadium, in basically the other end zone. That's where my ticket was, away from him.
Yeah.
And you know how if you've ever been to a big show at a big comedy club, the people in front are laughing, but a lot of times the people in back are just kind of there and
Yeah.
listening, and they think it's funny, but they don't feel as included.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there, I'm a football field away from this motherfucker, and everyone around me is laughing hysterically, like
Yeah.
he's right in front of them. I'd never seen that before. I mean, I've seen some of when I lived in Austin, you used to be able to go to Cap City for free, so I'd see like Segura and Bargatze and Mark Maron and like all the guys who are like the big
dogs.
big
Yeah.
guys now.
Yep.
I saw them at the club level, and I'd sit in the back, right in the corner. People are listening, but they're not doing what Louis could do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had their fans, but it's hard.
Yeah, it's a different feel.
Yeah, they couldn't like if my mom sat down and watched that for 5 minutes, she'd probably be like, "This guy's a genius." I don't think she could handle somebody with where their fan base was a little bit more insular. You know,
Yeah.
I think that was his beauty, that mass appeal. That
Yeah.
It just seemed like everybody was like,
Yeah.
and I think it's what Chappelle tries to do for his own people as well. The people that agree with the way he thinks is like, just I'm gonna get everybody.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the highest level. Yeah, it's funny. Like Shane Gillis is my favorite comedian right now, but I kind of dread going to a show because I know it's just going to be a frat party.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that's his audience and that's fine, but you
Yeah.
know, yeah, Louis. So you've never seen anybody kill harder than Louis.
I mean, in that instance, I've seen people kill like murder. I went up right before, fuck, I can't think of his name. He's the guy from Curb Your Enthusiasm, the JB Smoove.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
I went up right before him in Montreal once, and I've never seen anybody murder that hard in like a club setting.
When a rambunctious black guy gets the audience,
Yeah.
there's nothing quite like it.
Yeah.
Just in terms of him knowing himself and always just having that just energy. The man has so much energy that like you could not. He would just wreck everything. It just wouldn't even be worth doing comedy after that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's great. What an addition! One of the best additions to a TV show of all time.
Yeah.
Adding him to Curb.
Yeah.
That was.
So who'd you see at the Cellar? Did you guys already talk about this?
I didn't see a show when I was there the other day. We just kind of hung around out there.
Oh.
We saw Drew Dunn though, which was cool. Said
Yeah.
hi to him.
Yeah, cool.
And then we met Ian Fidance. I don't
Nice.
know if you know who that is.
Yeah, I do. I know
He's
who
and he was mad nice. I was just like,
Yeah.
dude, love the special, love the pod. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
And we just talked for a minute, and then we had to catch the bus, so we got out of there. But the first time I went, the lineup was. Will Sylvince was hosting,
He's great.
and then Caitlin Palufo was on the show.
Yeah.
Brendan Sagalow,
Yeah.
Mike Feeney, Sam Morrill, Jordan Jensen.
Wow, nice.
It was a
Yeah.
banger of a show, dude.
Heck yeah. Yeah. And they all just killed.
Yeah,
Yeah, everyone.
and it was like new joke or something.
Yeah.
and they were all doing new material.
Yeah.
And just murdering, dude.
Yeah.
It was great.
Did you find it difficult getting a ticket?
So I had to get on like the if people don't show up.
Yep.
we'll
And you stand
let in.
outside.
Yeah.
And you got in.
Yep.
Did anybody not get in, you think?
There was a
that.
few people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever been in that group, and you stand there for like an hour.
Yep.
Where I hadn't got in, because the reservation process is one there where you don't have to pay.
Yes.
You just go online and say, I'll be here on Friday.
Exactly,
And if they
yeah.
don't show up, you just stand out there and you got a good chance. That's what I always tell people. It's like, you didn't see it tell, huh?
No.
Yeah.
No, I think he was on one of the later shows.
Yeah, he's usually just a midnight show.
Yep.
Yeah, earlier one sometimes, but yeah. Yeah.
The Attell being the comic thing has been so beaten into the ground at this point. I almost feel embarrassed saying it. But do you feel the same way?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where I come from.
He's that
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah, just because, like, I mean, like, you have people who work on the writing part of it, and they make it as terse as possible, and they chop all the fat off of their jokes to give you the information in the injection way. And then you have people go slower, like Gillis, where it's like, I'm going to tell you a story about my sister, and go into it. And, like, that's, I mean, they're both written. They're both, the time is spent on both of those things. But, like, I like that injection of just the joke.
Joke.
Yeah,
joke.
like,
yeah.
And I think maybe that's my generation, where it's just like my dad used to work at a jail, and he'd come home and tell jokes that the prisoners would say.
Yeah.
And they'd be the funniest fucking street jokes I'd ever heard. I'm 12.
Oh, I bet.
But,
Yeah.
like, they would just be just stone cold classics. And,
Yeah.
like, jokes like that, did you remember?
Mm-hmm.
You remember how it went. Like, and, yeah, maybe they're street jokes, but, like, that whole template of just, you remember a Dave Attell joke,
Yes.
I remember Stephen Wright jokes. I remember, Emo Phillips jokes, like the short, punchy ones. Those
Yep.
are the ones that I grab. That's what tickles my clitoris.
Yep.
Comedically.
Yep.
To listen to a person tell a very funny story, I will give it patience and time, but it's not what I enjoy. If I'm going to New York to see comedy, it's to see Attell tell jokes in a bar.
Yep.
Tell me about your dad working at a jail.
Yeah,
Was it a jail or a prison?
Nah, it was a jail. He was
Okay.
my stepdad. He was a deputy police officer for a while and worked in a jail for a while. And yeah, I'm from definitely working class people in
Yep.
South Dakota.
That's
And-
just got to change your perspective on life a lot, being constantly surrounded by characters like that. Although I suppose if it's just an overnight jail, it's a lot of drunk tank guys and
Yeah, he didn't
nothing
do it for
necessarily
very
too
long.
sinister.
I never ever had any. Some people's parents are police officers, and they're like, "Oh, should I do that?" And it's either hell no or hell yes.
Yeah.
Usually.
Yep.
And for me, I never saw anything in it. I'm like, I could be the good cop, and I'm like, I had yet to meet one. So, like it eventually. I think that a job like that eventually it wears you down.
Yeah.
Because it's not like you're going anywhere and anyone's happy to see you. So,
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah.
It's always bad news.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any of those street jokes come to mind? I know it's a kind of hard thing to just ask somebody to pull.
We'll see if I can think of one later throughout the night. Like things that just used to make me laugh. Like, yeah. Oh,
but no, I agree. Attell is definitely the top tier of like that type of style.
I wished he'd had more material in his special. He did the last 15 minutes was that like recorder bit, which is very funny. But then it's like, well, man, I could have listened to you keep talking forever. You know?
Yeah, that's the thing with short jokes is they're powerful. Yeah, but you can write 4 of them and it's 1 minute. Yeah, whereas this guy's setup might be a minute. Yeah. So Attell knows that. He'll say that in podcasts if you listen to me. He's like, it takes me. He's like, you guys. Like, he's always impressed by Norman and Morrill and those guys because they can just keep pushing it out and they're getting out every night. But, like, you almost kind of paint yourself into a corner when you do it like that because he's always just looking for another short, punchy joke. Yeah. And he's older and he's seeing these new comics and he's saying to themselves, are there any jokes left? Yeah, you know? But I think that's why. All those short joke people, like Stephen Wright only made 2 records. Emo Phillips made 2.5 records. You know, like it takes a long time. Yeah. I'm putting a record out in September. I'm recording it in September, and it's taken me 13 years to amass the material to do it.
Damn, dude.
Yeah. Whereas some people go at it more long form. You know, like I got a new bit. It's 2 minutes. You know, if I got a new joke, it's 7 seconds. Yeah. Yeah. So it's like, but that guy with 2-minute bit, he's gonna have an album out way before me. It won't be very good. But it'll be way before mine, you know. Yeah. We always saw that when I started. Be like the guy who no one tells you to stop in comedy, hardly ever. So it's just, people just keep going. You're like 2 years in, and the guy's like, "I already got my album. My album's coming out." Yeah, and it's like, no, no one wants to hear that.
This is something I appreciate about us kind of coming into this in the podcast eras. I've heard so many great comedians talk about this and like give that speech, and because they're not telling it to somebody's face, they can do it in a way that's tactful. Like I heard Nate Bargatze say like. Somebody once told him 2 years in, like, I haven't quite found my voice. He's like, you're not going to. Yeah. Like, 10 years at least.
Yeah. You know? And that's the person, if you listen to his early stuff, like when he won the Boston Comedy Festival, you get a little inkling of what he turned into. You know, his soul or whatever. But it's never just in full bloom until decades later.
Yeah. A little behind the times, but congratulations, man.
Yeah, for real.
Thanks. Yeah. Fucking sick accomplishment.
Thank you. Yeah. Thanks.
You ever think about the other guys that have come before you on that list, like Bargatze? Yeah,
all the time. I think about the people who I see on that stage that never won it, like Ryan Donahue, great comic from Rhode Island, from here. Shane Moss. Yeah. I don't think List ever won it. You know, I think for a while it became a thing where you're Joe List. Yes. And you're like, I don't need to do this. I'm still here, but I don't need to do this.
Do you think there's an element of them thinking you don't need this because you're Joe List?
Maybe. Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. Like it wasn't something that I was like, this is next. It was like, I have to try and do this.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. It wasn't a forward step for me in terms of like, oh, this and then this. It was like, I should probably go back to this level and collect these mushrooms that I didn't get. Yeah. First 2 times I did this fucking level. Yep. That's kind of how I felt about it, where it's like, but then it was also, for me, it was a kind of a gamble, because like, I've been on TV, so if I would have lost it, there probably would have been some people that have been like, he doesn't have it anymore, or he's Greg Jeffries, rated rookie, and then what happened to that guy? Like, there can be some of that in comedy. So I knew that going in. It's like, I could lose in the second round, and then people are not going to have whatever, emulance for me that maybe they did have after that. Yes. It's like, he didn't. So I think taking that chance and then it like paying off and saying to myself, I think I can write a hot 5, because it is really a hot 5. Yeah. It's a super hot 5, and I think I can write this super hot 5 just as good as some of these maybe younger, newer, hungrier people, It was my newer 5. It was their only hot 5 for a lot of comics. Yep. And that's what that festival was kind of built on, where but I mean, man, like, you'll see people do that thing, they go on to do amazing things. Yeah. So that part of it is cool. It validates you.
Yeah.
Someone who's won that I love watching is Peter Martin.
Yeah.
He's one of my favorite comics I've seen around in the scene. He's
one of those,
fucking funny, dude.
Yeah, he's one of those where it's like a tell in New York, where it's just like, we want to go see a Boston comedian. Okay, we'll go see Lenny Clark, Peter Martin, Will Noonan. Somebody who's just like, this is a good example of what are good can come of here.
Yes.
And definitely Peter's one of those people, and he always makes me laugh, and he's always the funniest guy in the room.
Yep. Yep.
So he knows that.
Yeah, no, he definitely knows.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm so interested in that distinction, the like funny on and off stage. Like the most dramatic example of that I've heard of is like people will talk about Amy Schumer in this way. Like people will see her stand up and like some of it hits for some people, definitely doesn't hit for other people.
Yeah.
And then there's the whole plagiarism thing, but then I hear people say like off stage she's the funniest person you've ever encountered. And that's where all these deals come from, is because when she sits in a room with a producer, they're like, oh, we can't not give this person.
Maybe.
And her dating record too. She's dated Theo Von and Anthony Jeselnik.
Yeah.
Which I find kind of incredible.
I thought she had really good jokes when her record came out. She could write some fucking tight ass jokes.
Yeah.
Was she writing jokes that I think probably catered to like cigar chomping dudes more than anything? Probably. That's what that first record was to me. I'm like, my dad would laugh at this. There's nothing in it for my wife.
Yeah.
But my dad would think this is very funny.
Interesting.
In terms of what she was doing then. I just don't understand how stand-up is a stepping stone for people. Is it just not enough money? Because it's like, what is it that it's like, all right, I did that. Maybe she thinks she conquered it. And then she's like, time for me to make a string of real shitty movies.
Yeah.
Why is that every comedian?
Yep.
I don't understand. Like, I don't know that I'll ever do that.
She did like set up a lot of the now big comedians though.
Like a Nikki Glaser.
Like Nikki Glaser, Norman, Samurai. She like had all of them open for her and shit. And like, So
again,
I mean, she did she like led the path for them to be successful, I guess. Which is cool.
Real hard again to write short jokes and have it fill a fucking hour and kill the whole time. Jesus Christ.
Yep.
So like I give her big ups for that.
Yeah.
The things that I'd never watched much of her movies. There's that one that was filmed up here that Tony V was in with Rory Scovel. But I don't know. I don't know what the writing's like. So.
The one she did with Bill Hader was very funny.
Was it?
I forget what it was.
Was that
called.
Trainwreck?
Trainwreck.
Yeah, that was
Trainwreck was legitimately hilarious.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I was on a date and a girl convinced me to watch it, and I was bracing myself.
Yeah.
And I ended up having a fucking blast.
I just saw The Heat the other day. I really like that movie with Melissa McCarthy and Sandra Bullock.
Oh yeah.
I mean, just in terms of like, I'm in a hotel room and TBS is on. I'm gonna watch that shit.
Yeah.
That's something I miss about the cable era, is that it forces you to watch things that you wouldn't otherwise watch. Because I get this choice fatigue with Netflix, where
you kids ruined media.
Yeah.
You did. I don't know what's good anymore.
Yep.
Yeah.
Before it was just like you had $20, you drove to the fucking Sam Goody, you looked at a CD, you hoped it was good based on the cover, and then you drove home, and that was your favorite band for 6 months until you got another $20 or whatever. Like it. Yeah. So much of life is perception, that's why I think what's interesting about the internet is we have in our minds that everything has been dug up and discovered, and that it will eventually get discovered if it's good, but it's kind of bottomless.
Yeah.
I mean, it might blow your mind to think that there could be somebody just as funny as that guy who you've never fucking heard of.
Oh, something I think about with Shane in particular all the time is that I think he's an incredible talent, but he is also pitch perfect for the current moment.
Sure.
Is exactly what the moment asked for.
Yeah.
Is the fratty dude unwilling to say gay and retarded, willing to say gay and retarded.
Yeah.
And like,
There's
obviously that's an oversimplification. Like, I hold him in much higher esteem than that. Somebody who's the master at this that I've gone back and learned about is Steve Martin. Is that was what he was so amazing at, is that he looked at the scene and was like, okay, what is it missing?
Yeah.
And how can I become that?
Which is a whole crazy guy.
Well, literally, like, from what I understand, I mean, I'm not a student of this as much as I'd like to be, but from what I understand, comedy was much more literal, probably much more cigar chopping, to your point, and, like, he came out and was as alt as can be. He was fucking off the wall.
I think so, yeah. I think, he was probably, other than Andy Kaufman, or Albert Brooks or something like that, the first kind of alt comic. Just in terms of, like, hey, everybody, King Tut,
Right.
His book weren't standing up, I highly recommend that. It's the greatest book about comedy ever written. If you've never read that, that should be the first book about comedy you ever read.
Okay. Yeah, I've had that on the list for a while. I haven't read a ton of books about comedy. I read Lenny Bruce's autobiography, which was incredible. I've been getting through The Comedians by Cliff Nesteroff.
Yeah.
That's great. Would you have any other recommendations?
There's not many, but yeah.
I know,
anything
it's
by Cliff Nesteroff or anything Cliff Nesteroff, because he's considered now to be like the Ken Burns of comedy, whereas he's going to be our documentarian, person for the generation that we've lived up to since. But.
We both read Running the Light by Sam Talent. That was pretty great.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good book.
Yeah, I have that one. I came up. Well, Sam started way before I did, but I started in Omaha, so I know Sam for a long time.
Oh yeah.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
He's great. His special was fucking awesome.
Yeah. Sam was always
really
a big, larger-than-life person, even 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And if someone has never seen him or met him, it's like, you kind of say it's like Sam Kinison, or the way people maybe thought about him, just like a wild man or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then his reputation amongst like legendary comedians as being that as well just kind of got magnified. It was something that we always knew. Because those guys would do just like punk rock comedy for a real long time, and then when he blew up because of working with who he worked with and like going and doing theaters with bigger comics and seeing that they respected him for the same reasons we did, it made it super cool.
Yeah.
He deserves everything he gets. And I just show with Sam in Portland like, what was it, a year ago or two, but I look at someone who blows up like the way Sam blew up after the book came out, and like Sam is like shaking hands. He's signing that book and he's hanging out for an hour every night after every show.
Mm-hmm.
If you listen to a podcast with your heroes, the Mark Normans, they're telling you, yeah, I'm in a cab and these two guys from Long Island said they'd give me $600 to do this birthday party. And you don't say no to stuff like that. Maybe they do now, but those are your fans. Yeah. And the work it takes beyond just the joke writing and just the performance is... not something you realize. Yeah. That he's doing every night. Yeah. He can't just go home. Yeah. He can't just go to the hotel. He's got to shake hands and make sure those kids come back. Yep. Yep.
You mentioned Tony V earlier. I took his comedy class, which was an incredibly fortunate thing, because comedy classes are kind of, I don't know if reviled is the right word, but they're kind of looked down upon. And I took it because I wanted to have training wheels for my first open mic. And that was essentially what it served me as. And Tony V was the fucking man. Yeah. I ended up seeing him open for Burr at Fenway. It was an incredible experience.
I don't think anyone would look down on you taking a comedy class from Tony V.
Oh, not from him. From him, absolutely not.
No, just in
general, it's seen as somebody who failed at comedy is now doing this. But anyway, the reason I bring it up is that, as you mentioned, that was why I asked him specifically, what do you do outside of comedy as a comedian? And he says that. He's you have to show up, be around, and be willing to interact with absolutely everybody.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the thing about Tony, I think, we're getting to work with him sometimes, is that the respect is never lessened when you're back by the dumpster. It's increased. Yeah. Because you see him do well. You see his peers, some of them doing stuff they've been doing for years. Yep. And you see Tony writing something that's just as funny and fresh as the stuff he was writing 30 years ago. Yeah. And you said to yourself, well, that's a working comic. Yeah. And that's someone to emulate, because you have to, if you want to live here. If you say, I can't do the New York thing. Yeah. How do I live? How do I eat? How do I do this on a certain level? That guy's doing it. And that's who you point to, because he lives here. Yep. I saw him in Manchester at the Rex. Didn't say anything about being from Boston. Mm-hmm. No one knew who he was. An hour away. He did the act he was going to do in Aruba the next weekend. He's a working comic. Yep. I people tell him that whenever they get the chance, but I always tell him that too. I'm like, man, he still writes. Mm-hmm. You should be scared to go up before him. Or after him. Yeah. Goldman took Rick Jenkins' comedy class. Gary Goldman, who's considered by many to be the other great stand-up comic. No, I think greatness can come out of stand-up comedy. What is Second City? What is UCB, if not the same thing for so many who now run the world?
Yep. Right, yeah.
So, yes, I think it's training wheels for stand-up. That's okay.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, do you not feel like you're better? And you have a little
totally.
bit more of a head start than the fucking idiot who's just like, I'm going to try comedy tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you going to try it tonight? Do you have anything written? No, I'm just going to get up there. Like, that's the other version of that. So,
It's just talking, right?
you're
Just
just up there talking, right? Yeah.
And I still have friends that I took the class with that are still doing comedy and like having started from that place. It's a special connection.
Yeah, those people are now considered your peers. And then when they get stuff before you, you can be like, God damn. And then that's when yeah.
You're right. Yeah, with that person, there's no excuse.
No.
Yeah. Truly no excuse.
Yeah, you have someone who you see them, they started the race the same time you did, and you said to yourself, oh, shit, I guess I need to work harder, or I don't know if I like this, or like, I think a lot of your decision about comedy comes from how other people around you are doing sometimes, where you're like, okay. It's just like college, what'd you get? I got a B. What'd you get? I got an A.
Right.
Okay, well, shit, I guess I'm not an A student.
Yeah.
Or you work harder and you try and become an A student, But you get that realization with this a couple of months in, a year in, where you're just like, okay, what do I need to do different here, Do I really like this?
Right.
And then you just ask yourself that for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of Gary Goldman. Yeah, speaking of Gary Goldman, I'm a big fan of his. I loved his comedy advice that he would tweet out. I thought that was so great.
During the pandemic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My one thing of his, and it's an insane thing for a guy 2 years in to be critiquing Gary Goldman, but I think he's part of a trend we've seen get really big over the past 10 years that I think probably started with Richard Pryor, where bearing your soul on stage became kind of the thing.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I just wonder what you think. Have you seen comparable trends like that before?
Yeah. I in terms of what I know about Gary Goldman, it's the man spends time on jokes.
Oh, he has mango material. He's certainly not pigeonholed by the depression stuff. I'm just...
Yeah. In terms of the question of have I seen the trend of comics bearing their soul, or are you talking about in relation to being real?
Well, it's just a specific thing working for a handful of people, and then suddenly everybody's doing it.
Yeah, that's that.
Right.
It's the same thing.
True.
Yeah. And it's the same thing where you don't see the giant hill between you and that.
Right.
Yeah, and I think it works the same way for anybody.
That's a great point.
Any non-cis male who saw a Hannah Gatsby special and said, I want to do that, it's probably the same thing. It's just their version of that. They're like, you just bare your soul and you're just real. It's like, no, you gotta work.
Right.
You gotta work and you have to actually make this shit funny, and it's just as hard, I think, but...
Yeah.
I think the trick there has always been his trick, and any great comedian's trick is making it look so easy. Makes it look like we can do it. And making it look easy makes it look more relatable. It allows you to introduce weirder concepts to people and to think weirder and present weirder information, which he kind of does in a casual kind of way.
Yep.
I've said this before, but I did this comedy studio during my residency when Goldman was in town living with his mom. And I would open and he would close. I'd do 5, and then 10 comics later he would do 5. But he was working on a bit for TV where I'd listen to the same bit of his every night, and some days he would maybe change a one word for the whole 5 or 6 minutes. That's all he would do, just to see how it did. This instead of that.
Yep.
I was here instead of there. Just watching how much he worked and focused on the minutiae of the words. So that's what always impressed me about him. Yeah. And then his ability to just talk to us like we were comedians as well. Yeah.
I once heard Pete Davidson say something like that in a special. He commented, he did a joke, I forget what it was, but he did a joke and it ended on a certain word, and he could tell that there was an odd reaction from the audience, and he's just trust me, I promise you, that is the best word for that joke. I've tried 6 different others.
Yeah.
You get behind the curtain and they see that he's writing that, I mean, your sister or whoever, your aunt, for some reason she might not make that immediate connection that it's all written, and that destroys part of it as well.
Yeah.
Would you say you have a writing process?
Yeah.
What is it?
I wake up every morning and I make like a Hippy Speedball, which is Turkish ground coffee and marijuana. Mm-hmm. And then I look at my notes until my eyes cross for about 2 hours. Mm-hmm. And my wife's in the living room teaching, so I can't just stop. I have to like keep going to try and keep up with her. That drives me a lot, but my writing process is one where I try and stay close to just doing that every single day. Mm-hmm. Because of my lifestyle, I can. Christmas, New Year's Eve, I will spend an hour every morning writing. Like a person would go to the gym every morning to
mm-hmm.
write.
Yeah.
Or, yeah, that's what I do. It doesn't matter what day it is. Mm-hmm. And because of the summer, I'm taking a little bit of break and been doing some traveling and focused a little bit more on performing lately. But that's always been, since 2018, that's pretty much been the idea. Daily routine.
Hell yeah.
Are you drawn to specific topics, or will you like I think Gary Goldman, for example, has like talked about picking a specific thing. I think like mangoes and just being like, I'm going to write 20 jokes about this.
No, I don't work like that.
No. Yeah.
Because to me it seems just like such a sexless way to do it.
Mm.
Yeah.
I need to have the clash of two different things coming together in my purview. Mm-hmm. Cats and lasers.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or just two clashes of things. I've tried that before where I've gotten high and I've been like, write a joke about Bob Marley.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. And then I just sit there all night and I'm like, I guess I'm not very funny.
Right. But it's like when I just asked you to recall a street joke earlier.
Right.
It's like you have an infinite memory bank of those, surely, but like when you try to pull one, it just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of the punchline to it. I'll try to see if I get it. Anyway, but I've done that before. Where I can't just do the one. I have to do the two things coming together. And so, like for instance, mangoes and something else, or whatever. I can't just.
So
I wish I could just do that.
Kind of type of thing.
Maybe not opposites attract. Just you just see connections that exist there that you don't see in reality that could possibly exist in reality but don't.
Okay.
Is it possible that if you took a bunch of cats to a laser light show that they'd run around?
Right.
Yeah. So it's within the realm of possibility, but you don't ever see it.
Like, could you see one as a metaphor for the other, or something like that?
Maybe, or just more than anything, that whole idea that it could exist within the realm of possibility, but it does not currently.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it funny.
Yes.
To me. And trying to look at things with like a God's eye, and then trying to take a piece of something that no one's taken yet. You know, it's almost like that race to something happens in the news, and then every comedian, every person who wants to make a joke about it on the internet, it's like a race to get to that joke, and it usually lasts 48 hours.
Yep.
And then you have some winners, and then some people that are late to the race but still think of the good idea or whatever. And it's just like, then that's done. Yeah. And that's over, and that idea is just, it's like you're throwing water on it. It's almost like a late night joke where it's just like, well, I'm not telling you, I can't tell that joke again. I can't tell it tomorrow night.
It's burnt material.
Right, yeah. So it's like, you try and do that, but with the things around you, I think. And when you're early, it's, your dick's hard for it. So you're just looking around all day. Oh, I'm funny. I'm funny. So much of this is confidence. You get the ability you write something good today, and you go up tonight, wherever you go up, and you get a laugh. It's confidence building every single time.
Yep.
And it's what drives you to get up tomorrow and work on that new iffy idea that you weren't real sure about yesterday when you weren't just confident.
Yeah.
It's so weird how much of it is psychological. Pete Davidson has a lot of confidence. Like,
I wonder why.
Yeah, like someone like Matt Rife, tons of confidence.
Yeah.
Again,
Like those, you can almost too much confidence. Some would say.
Yeah.
But I think that's like, at least half of this game is confidence, because like your weird brain is what directs you to that weird idea that you write down.
Yep.
And then you're scared, or you don't know how to sell it, or try and get people to think like that.
Yep.
But once you have the confidence and the demeanor to like sell it and deliver it, then it just becomes so much easier, and you get more. And that's how you get your own voice. It's the whole Chris Rock, bring the pain, women be shopping.
Yeah.
Women be shopping. He just drives home that point the whole time, and like he's got so much confidence, like.
To your point about the voice, and something I also think about a lot with Twitter is like, within 48 hours of anything happening, like every conceivable joke about it has been written and posted on Twitter.
Yeah.
And I wonder, like, how one can ever be really sure that their joke is original. It's something I think that is cool about Shane.
These
Gillis
are new
is that
problems.
he'll, like, yeah. Well, I don't know. But are they, like...
Dude, if we watched every comedy special for the last 100 years, we'd all quit.
Yeah.
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 Because that thing you're working on that you're almost there with, somebody wrote it in some other town.
Yep.
And that's new. Because we've not had access to that before. And soon, I would say within the next 20 years, I'm sure there's going to be some sort of fucking vocal database.
Yeah.
Where you can just be like, mangoes.
Oh,
yeah.
God.
1,000 jokes about mangoes.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I guess I'm done.
Yeah.
Like, that's why they say keep your head down. I mean, you guys should be absorbing all the comedy you can. Especially
Tony
if
V
you
gave me that advice, though. He absorbs as little as possible.
Oh, yeah. Those 3 people you took the class with. Like I said, one of them's going to get a gig, and you're not going to get it. And then you're going to be like, that motherfucker, how would they do? You got to keep your head down and look and focus on yourself. Because if you look at what he's doing, you're going to be like, I'm never going to be that. I'm never going to do that. Like that's what I see. What I see, like Richard Pryor, George Carlin. I'm like, I ain't that.
Yeah.
Oh fuck! What am I even doing? No wonder my dad thinks I'm a joke.
Yeah.
You look at this differently now than you did before, than your friends do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
It changes you. Yeah.
I feel like there's got to be... I mean, something I like about Shane is that he tells... And something I feel like must make him feel confident that his stuff is original is that he'll tell stories that are very specifically about his life. Yeah. So taking his heroin-addicted sister to a water park and watching her come to from a heroin nap in the air... I think he can be pretty confident that, while that has surely happened to people, nobody has a bit about it.
You learn that going on. You learn that going on. I've learned that over 10 years, that my version of that is to make jokes about my life specifically and do it in a short-form fashion. And it gets real hard. I started as a one-liner person just pulling from anything. And then I'm like, I'm going to write a one-liner joke about my wife. No one can steal that. It's about my wife.
Right. Yes.
And that gets built into it.
Yep.
That idea is built into it. It might not be from his, but that's when you think about that race to write about Kim Kardashian. It does, that kind of stuff doesn't exist in that way.
Right. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. The slap.
Yeah. Because it's something to, I don't know. Is it a talent to get there first when it comes to that stuff? Got there first, wrote the greatest joke about this thing that happened today. Yeah. And then what? Okay, so you get some Twitter followers and people think you're funny and you got a hot take or whatever, but is anyone going to want to hear that in a comedy club in 6 months?
No.
I don't know that that's the same skill. That to me is a lot like those pun contests where it's just like, who has the quickest brain?
Yeah.
Not who's the funniest.
Yep.
It's not who's making the slow-cooked pork. Yeah. It's who can get me a pork.
Honestly, it's something. It's something I love about the podcast era is I feel like it gives those guys a place to shine. Like one of my favorite comics right now, Nick Mullen. Yeah. Is it's unbelievable how fast he's and he's not writing.
You watch that. That guy's a savant. You watch his stuff from 12 years ago and it's better than most comics. Yeah. He's a savant.
Yep.
Also from Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I feel similarly about Theo Vaughn, like the way he riffs. It's like there's no way that's written. That's off the top of his head.
Yeah, but I mean, you guys think about it. If 4 hours of your fucking day was spent doing podcasts with some of the best comedians in the entire world, and the other 2 hours you're writing jokes, and the other hour you're doing stand-up.
Yep.
Yeah. The gears are always turning.
Yeah,
you don't go to your regular
at all
job after this. You're on all the time.
Yep.
Yeah. And Theo Vaughn might be loosely referencing something his dad said 30 years ago. You're just pulling from everything, you know. There's that element to it too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Is that something you think about just in judging your own mental health? The pros and cons of being on all the time. It's if you wake up and 12 hours and then you go to bed and you're just however many hours. And you're on that whole time. That is what will probably produce the best stuff. But you also probably lose your fucking mind, right?
Yeah. I remember listening to Joe List talk about coming back here to go to a funeral, and after a couple hours, all of his friends were like, "All right, turn it off. This is real life." Yeah. It gets hard for me to turn it off with my wife. And my loved ones, because it's like, oh, you don't think I'm funny? I just made a bunch of people laugh. I don't think you're funny. Yeah. It does. That's a helmet that is hard to turn off, especially once you start doing shows and you're wide awake in the morning at 2:00 and all your loved ones are asleep. you know, and you have no one to tell how much fun you just had. So you're just laying there, you know. Yeah, I shut it off at work. It's not there at work. I just can't do it. I can work on the quantitative portion of comedy where it's like, I'm going to set build today. These are the jokes I'm doing tonight. But in terms of like sitting at the gas station and writing a joke, I just cannot do it.
Dude, I drive Uber and I feel the exact same way.
Yeah.
And it's so weird because every time I tell people that, they're like, oh, it must be such a great workshop for joke writing. You're getting these random people in your car. You have all this time to think. For whatever reason, it just doesn't.
You're working.
Yeah. I guess, yeah.
You're working. I agree. Like, that's why I do the hour every morning. Mm-hmm. Because it's like, that's means that the pressure that you put on yourself when you said, I'll get this job, it'll be so easy to come up with jokes while I'm just driving people around.
Right, yeah.
And then you realize it's a job. It's mentally taxing, that it's different. Maybe in 10 years you could do it. You'd be like fucking Ben Bailey or whatever. You know, you just get good at it. I don't know.
What does Ben Bailey do?
He did the cash cab for a while.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, I think he was a cab driver in New York. But yeah, I had that same feeling. I think many comics do. You're working, you're like, what the fuck am I doing? You know, and then you get home and you're tired.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, but I come from the idea of you just devote a little bit of time to it every day, not like 4 hours thinking you're going to shit gold.
Yep.
Just an hour every morning. Over time, it will accumulate, and you won't feel like you need to do it while you're driving Uber, you know?
Yeah.
I gave up on that idea of trying to think like that a long time ago. When I was making music, I found it easy to write song lyrics, but I didn't find it to be funny. Easy to be funny and like write stuff. Maybe it's because I'm sober a lot of the times at work. I'm not high, you know, but just it ain't there. I gotta be relaxed.
Did you ever try the Bo Burnham stuff, musical comedy?
No, I didn't.
No.
I could never make that like correlation between the things I was decent at.
Yeah.
And I don't think I ever wanted to either, you know. I do have much respect for people who can do like more than one thing decently. But no, I never wasn't that attracted to it either.
Yeah.
I respect Bo Burnham.
Yeah.
And when he put that pandemic special out, we all looked like a bunch of lazy fucks.
Yep.
Dude.
Yep.
Oh,
that was
man.
great, dude.
Yeah. But for someone to do that, I never, I have guitars. I've sat and I've said I could maybe write a funny song, but I'm like, I don't. The problem with funny music to me is like that balance between jokes and information. You know, like when Tenacious D came out, there was a lot of jokes, but there was also a lot of information. So it's like they made a real musical and sing-song, you know, and like Adam Sandler, the same kind of way or whatever. Like, and to me, I would have a problem like the exposition and the jokes because I would want everything to be a joke.
Yeah.
It's like, why not just tell jokes then?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Right. I like somebody who I feel like is able to strike that balance that I find very inspiring, Zach Galifianakis.
Yeah.
Like just playing that sort of kind of low melodic line.
Again.
And then telling the jokes over it.
Short jokes, filling time.
Yep.
Right.
From as boring as that sounds, one of the things he's doing is filling time. When Dimitri Martin walks over to the
great point. I never thought
clipboard,
about that.
when he walks over to that board and flips that paper over and shows you the thing, he is filling 7 seconds every time.
Yep.
So he can write a new 2 hours or a new hour every 2 years.
Yep.
Like he's figured out a way to do that. Whether it's built into the game or he thought about that, whatever, it just that's how he does it.
Did you count how many jokes you had in your Boston Comedy Festival 5 minutes?
Yeah, you do. You have to. That's part of the contest because you have to land the plane. Part of that contest is landing the plane because everyone kills. So if you go over, then you lose points.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you know how many?
So you had to hit
top of your head?
exactly 5?
Well, when you're in a theater, like I've been doing theater shows with Justin McKinney, so I kind of knew how I was going to go into theater with stuff. And there's like 1,200 people there, so there's a lot of people there, and they all loved comedy.
Yep.
No one was there because they were just nothing to do. They were all comedy fans.
Yep.
So it's like, it's on a certain level, it is kind of like shooting a fish in a barrel.
True.
And everyone there had a great 5 minutes.
Yes.
Everyone there. You know, everyone's doing well because 1,200 people, even if you're not doing that well, 200 people are going to like you. You know, like the numbers are just kind of there. You know, you're in a room with 10 people and one guy laughs, that's 100 people in a room with 1,000.
Hey, yeah.
If the math is thinking that way, so it's like you get more pops, and then at at some point it just becomes about landing the plane correctly. Yeah, so it's like you time it out in a normal, like I'm doing the burning, and I'll probably try and do 4 jokes a minute, maybe a little less.
Mm-hmm.
In a theater, it's like home run derby, so you're doing more 2.5.
Okay.
Yeah, at least I am.
Yep.
And you learn to land the plane. We're like, all right, I'm not doing that. And you're doing it, and you're thinking of audibles while you're going, because you're like, all right, that joke went a lot longer than when I thought it was going to go, and I should probably kill this one. But, at some point you just know where your beginning, where your middle is, and where your end is, and you just try and get as close to that as possible. I never had one set during Boston Comedy Festival this year that I did it about. I never felt super good about any of them, and it was all that timing thing. Just like, shit, I can't do this one because it's, I got 10 seconds left. This is a 20-second joke.
Yep.
We're done.
Yep.
Yeah.
Do you remember specifically the number? Like 30 jokes, 32 jokes?
In 5 minutes, it ended up being like 12, maybe. Yeah. Way less than what I'd written and planned for. I planned for 20.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, that's got to be a whole skill in of itself too, calling that audible.
Yeah, it is. And honestly, where does that do you any good besides that place? Nowhere.
Yep.
So.
Yep.
I mean, maybe trying to win another 5-minute contest.
Yeah.
I could go down to the South Shore and try and compete in the Clash of the whatever. Like,
Yes.
but outside of
Yep.
that, it is not a skill that is, maybe not pissing off a headliner. I don't know. But, like, I don't know why that's built into it. 5 minutes is not enough time either. Yeah. That contest I thought was really just kind of won and lost at City Winery. Trying to get through the crowds there.
Okay.
Yeah. Have you ever done
Hotter
it?
crowds there?
Yes.
Yeah.
People, again, that were maybe just looking for something to do, a lot of them. Whereas the people at the finals were like, we all love comedy.
They're
we
all
bought
comedy
tickets to
fans.
this festival.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I've never performed at City Winery though. That's
It takes a
one
while.
of Yeah.
Yeah, it takes a while, and that's like
It's a goal I have though.
wine
definitely.
drinking people.
Yeah.
You realize, after you do it a while, you realize where you're at, where you live,
Mm-hmm.
how a show in Southie can be different based on what bar you're at, what kind of people are there. Obviously, you go to Alston, parts of Cambridge, it's alternative kids. The Lily
Yes.
Pad is alternative kids. Shane Gillis would not do well there.
Yeah.
Like you would get booed out of that place.
Mm-hmm.
They don't care how funny he is. Like,
Oh, I'd love to watch. That'd be very entertaining.
and then you go to Nick's Comedy Stop, and it's very much more traditional.
Yeah.
The Comedy Studio is much more alternative. Laugh Boston. They'll take anybody.
Yeah, sure.
But anybody can fill that place. So.
Do you have it as a goal in mind to have like a playbook for each of those kind of lanes, or do you I have
Sometimes-
my Casey Crawford style and that's what I'm doing?
You only have so many bullets when you start. So, like, when you guys start getting sets, it'll be like, hey, we want you to do 7 minutes. Well, it's going to be the only 7 minutes I got.
Right, yeah.
So you only have so many bullets. You got 7 bullets in that gun, And over the years, you get more bullets. And then you can do audibles. But for a while, you just kind of, you see the wave coming. And then you say to yourself, I still can't do anything about it, but here it comes.
Yep.
And then after a while, you're like, oh, shit, I got 5 more minutes. All right, I'm here at this nursing home. I should probably not do my,
Yeah.
Yeah, and that just takes part of comedy. All of comedy is fucking up and then realizing how to adjust. It's like music or baseball. Your curveball ain't working. All right, well, move your arm. Do something different. See if that works.
Yep.
And that's comedy, especially where you guys are at. Like, you have everyone's permission to fuck up. If you get up there and totally blow for the next 2 years, no one's gonna fucking care.
Yeah.
No, not if you get better. They're not. They might be like, this guy's not very funny. Well, so what? So are 1,000 other people here. That's what gives us all the confidence to do it.
Yeah.
You see somebody up there and you're like, I can fucking do that. Like, that's part of it. Like, that's the thing you guys have to realize is that no one cares about what you're doing. No one's looking at you and be like, that guy's next. You just got to think about yourself and getting better and saying to yourself, that didn't work, that worked, what worked about that, what didn't work, how do I change it?
Yeah.
If you think you're the best thing since sliced bread, you're dumb. And that always goes away, even if you think it. Like, ego is a lot of this. A lot of this is ego.
Yeah.
It is. It's ego inflation. It's like, I have this ability. It's like a superpower to make people laugh. you know, and then you get jealous when other people have it too, you know, like, or whatever. But like, you start thinking like that, and you get in trouble because when you bomb, that ego gets deflated.
Yeah.
And then when you start relying on that good feeling to do it, and you stop getting that good feeling, you stop doing it.
Yeah.
So it's like you have to realize the difference between going to the gym and then the actual contest. You know, go to the gym. Open mics are the gym. The contest is when you finally get paid to do comedy.
Exactly. Yep.
But
that's why I go to Midway every Sunday.
You have the advantage, Kenny, of going up every night for the next 6 months and eating shit in this town and no one caring. If I go up and eat shit for the next 6 months in this town, people are like, what happened to that guy?
Yeah.
You know? Like, that's your advantage right now, is to try all the food on the buffet and see what you like and don't like, you know. So.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, we're winding down here. We only got a couple more minutes. I had one more question I wanted to ask you. Like, of all these discoveries of like the attitudes to have or like techniques you've adopted to get better at comedy. So, like, for example, you know, establishing a routine every morning. Like, do you think you could identify one thing that has had like the biggest impact over the years, or do they all sort of blend together?
The one thing I always say is that the best part about comedy is that no one can tell you to stop. It's not like football where you're in 5th grade and the coach is like, you, not you. You know, where you learn what kind of person the world thinks you are?
Yeah.
And it tells you can't do things. Comedy cannot work like that. You can be the craziest motherfucker in this town and it'll be at least 6 months before they kick you out of all the open mics. And even then you can go to the Middle East.
Yeah.
Like, there's no police. And that's the thing I always try and remind people, that ultimately people are going to quit. They're going to stop. They're going to wonder what you're doing. And if you just keep going and keep doing it and do it because you love doing it, regardless of whether you're getting up in some little town in the middle of nowhere for 5 minutes a night or you're getting up in a big city like we live, if you do it because you love doing it, you're always going to do it. And you're going to do it until you feel like stopping, not when the world tells you to stop. Because if I did this until the world told me to stop, I'd have stopped a long time ago. Yeah. And the bigger you get, the more you get criticized. You're starting to see this with Gillis now, where it's just like, I mean, 4 out of 10 people are aware of him. Yeah. Well, what's going to happen now? They're going to watch it, and they're not going to like it, and they're going to criticize it, and then you're going to become that guy, the Shane Gillis fan. You know, like,
God.
It's already happened, man. It's already happened. So it's like, you have to realize that is all things you can't control. You can't control the world around you. You can't control whether or not those 3 other people from your comedy class get booked on a show. You can't control if you get booked on a show or someone doesn't like you or whatever way you might be turning off people. All you can control is what you're doing. And that's this whole time. Yeah. The whole time. And people say put on blinders, but it's impossible to do. Over time, you're going to look at your peers and be like, oh my God, look at what that guy did. Holy shit, what am I doing? That's impossible to ignore, but you just kind of have to say to yourself, other people's success is not your failure. And if you believe in yourself, you have to be your biggest fan. Also, I'll say that. I know that sounds fucking weird, but you do. My wife's seen me more times than anybody, and I'd say she's number 2, but I'm number 1.
Number 2 is pretty good. I hear a lot of people's significant others are not their biggest fans.
She likes comedy. You know, she falls asleep to The Simpsons every night. So that's where I come from.
That's
like a tight written joke. She likes that. So I'm lucky in that respect. But yeah, like you have to be your number 1 fan, because your parents ain't gonna be it, your brother ain't gonna be it, your wife ain't gonna be it, your girlfriend. Like, even if they do, they're just doing it because they love you. Like to do it. No one knows your shit like you either. That's the other thing. Yeah, I've said this before. Like, when I was writing my master's thesis, the only other person who was aware of it was my thesis advisor, and he was only just slightly aware of it. I was in control. I knew where it was going, what I was doing, and like once I realized that, I finished it. And it became easier to write. I wasn't like looking to him for like, is this right? Is this right? I'm like, I know this better than anybody. And that's how you'll get with comedy after a while, where people are like, you don't know what you're doing, and you have to be like, not say anything, but then just understand that it's all just a working process. And they'll see you in 6 months, and you'll be better. I guarantee you. I guarantee you. Even if they hate what you do, If they see it in a couple of years and you're still doing it, they will recognize how much better you are.
Yeah.
I've already had little moments like that where like I'll make the mistake of trying to articulate what process it is that I'm undergoing and like what my plans are and what my perception is of the world around it, but like it's impossible to articulate to anybody but yourself.
Just best to be quiet about it.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just gonna let you down. You know, I wish I had like a mom who was cool and could just sit in the front row and take all the shit I dump on her. I don't have that. I don't have a supportive network of people. I have people that are like, wow, it seems like what you're doing is, you're good at it. I don't like it. And that might be as best you get, you know, and take it if you can get that. But, yeah.
You got anything else, Kenny?
No, I think I'm good.
Casey, this has been fucking awesome, man.
Yeah,
Thank you so much
sweet.
for doing this.
No problem.
This has been an education, right?
Yeah, keep doing it.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Very excited.
Keep doing it. Keep doing it.
We will keep doing it.
Yeah.
Do we have any plugs? I don't know.
I mean, my show is in October.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nothing in particular. You got an album coming out in September. That's exciting, man. That's
Yeah.
really great.
It's at the Rockwell on September 20th. It's a Friday.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
Rob,
Hell yeah.
Rob Crean's going to host. Janet's going to feature.
Oh, what a show.
Yeah,
Hell
we're going to record it.
Yeah. Anybody listening to this, look up Casey Crawford. You got some late night sets.
Yep.
Is your material from the Boston Comedy Festival? Is that out there?
Not this year. It is in older years.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to that. Yeah.
Well, whatever's
just
out there, check it the fuck out.
Yeah, look up Casey Crawford on YouTube. And thank you. We're good. Goodbye.
Bye.
This ain't nothing without it. Don't let them keep you down. What if I don't need it? There's something about